Starfall Castle was the biggest and oldest castle in the kingdom of Valoria. It had tall silver towers that touched the sky, thick stone walls covered in green vines, and colorful flags that danced in the wind. Every year, Starfall chose 4 young trainees to become shield-bearers protectors of the kingdom. This year, 4 special friends were chosen. Leo was the fastest runner in the village. He loved adventure and dreamed of fighting dragons. His golden hair was always messy, and his eyes were full of fire. Mira was small but sharp. She could solve any puzzle faster than anyone. Her dark hair was tied back with a blue ribbon, and her clever smile made even the grumpiest teacher laugh. Tarin was big and strong. He could carry 3 barrels of apples all by himself, but he was also very gentle. His friends said he had a bear's strength and a kitten's heart. Ella was joyful and bright. She loved animals more than anything. Birds often followed her, and even the shy forest deer came close when she sang. The 4 of them had been friends since they were little. They promised that if they ever became shield-bearers, they would always protect each other no matter what. Today, they stood in the great hall of Starfall Castle. King Alden himself would give them their shields. The hall was full of important people wearing shiny armor and colorful robes. The golden floor sparkled under the huge glass windows. The air smelled of flowers and fresh parchment. A trumpet sounded. The king stood up. He was tall with silver hair and kind eyes. His voice was deep and strong. "Leo, Mira, Tarin, Ella," he said. "You are the future of Valoria. You will protect the weak, honor the truth, and defend each other." The friends knelt on one knee. Their hearts beat fast. King Alden touched each of their shoulders with his sword. "I name you shield-bearers of Starfall," he declared. The crowd cheered. The king's guards brought 4 small shields, each one shining brightly. Each shield had a different symbol: a lion, an owl, a bear, and a songbird. Leo's shield had the lion, Mira's had the owl, Tarin's had the bear, Ella's had the songbird. They smiled at each other, their eyes bright with excitement and pride. After the ceremony, they ran outside to the training fields. "We did it!" shouted Leo, punching the air. "But this is just the beginning," said Mira wisely. "Shield-bearers must be ready for anything." Just then, an old knight named Sir Cedric walked over. He had a beard as white as snow and kind wrinkles around his eyes. "You 4, he said, pointing his staff, "must prove your courage. Tomorrow, you will go into the Whispering Woods. You must bring back the silver feather from the singing tree." The friends looked at each other. The Whispering Woods were filled with strange sounds and hidden dangers. Many grown knights feared to go there. But Leo grinned. "We're ready," he said bravely. Ella gulped but smiled too. "Together," she said, reaching out her hand. One by one, they placed their hands on top of hers. "Together," they said in one voice. The sun set behind the castle, painting the sky in gold and purple. Their shields sparkled in the light, as if they were already part of a great story. Tomorrow, their real adventure would begin. The next morning, the castle bell rang loudly across the valley. Leo, Mira, Tarin, and Ella met at the castle gates, their new shields shining in the early sunlight. Each wore a simple cloak over their armor, and they carried small satchels with bread, water, and a map. The Whispering Woods stood in the distance like a sea of green and silver. Mist floated between the trees, and the wind carried soft, strange voices. Some said the woods could trick your mind. Some said magical creatures lived there. Sir Cedric met them at the gate. "Remember," he said, his voice low, "find the singing tree. Its silver feather is your prize. Trust each other. The woods will test your hearts." Leo stood tall. "We're ready, Sir Cedric." The old knight smiled and nodded. "Go then, shields of Starfall." The friends stepped through the gates, leaving the safe walls behind. The grass under their boots grew wilder and thicker as they walked. Birds called overhead, and little animals peeked from the bushes. At the edge of the woods, they stopped. "Stay close," Mira said. She pointed to the map. "We follow the river until we find the silver stone. Then we turn east." Tarin nodded. "I'll watch the sides," he said. holding his shield high. Ella whispered to the small birds that flew around them. "Help us, little friends," she said softly. The birds chirped and fluttered ahead as if leading the way. They entered the woods. At once, the light grew dim. The trees were tall and twisted, their leaves whispering secrets. Strange shapes moved in the mist. The air smelled sweet, like honey and moss. Suddenly, a soft voice called out, "Turn back! Turn back!" Leo tightened his grip on his shield. "Don't listen," he said. They pressed on. After a while, they reached the river. It flowed fast and silver, rushing over rocks. They walked beside it, careful not to slip. At a bend in the river, they saw the silver stone, a huge boulder that shone like a mirror. They stopped to rest. Leo picked up a pebble and skipped it across the river. "I thought there would be monsters," he said, grinning. "Maybe they're watching," said Mira, half joking. Suddenly, Tarin froze. He pointed ahead. There, across the river, stood a shadowy figure, tall and cloaked. It didn't move. The friends huddled together. "What do we do?" Ella whispered. Mira looked at the map. "We have to cross the river here." Leo stepped forward. "I'll go first," he said. He found a shallow spot and carefully walked across, the water rushing around his boots. The others followed, one by one. When they reached the other side, the figure was gone. Only the mist remained. They walked quickly now, hearts beating faster. The woods grew darker. The trees looked like giant hands reaching down. The path twisted and turned, and it was easy to lose direction. But Mira kept checking the map. Tarin kept them safe at the sides. Ella kept singing softly to keep their courage up. Finally, after a long climb up a rocky hill, they saw a soft light ahead. They hurried toward it. At the top of the hill stood a tree unlike any other. Its trunk glowed silver. Its leaves shimmered in gold and white. And hanging from a low branch was a single, beautiful feather, the silver feather, the singing tree. The tree's leaves made music as the wind blew through them, gentle and sweet, like a lullaby. The friends stared in awe. "It's beautiful," whispered Ella. Leo stepped forward carefully. Just as he reached out to grab the feather, the ground trembled. From behind the tree, a huge creature stepped out, a guardian beast. It was made of vines, wood, and stone. Its glowing eyes looked right at them. The friends froze. They had come so far. Would they have to fight? Could they win? Leo glanced back at his friends. They nodded. Together, they would find a way. "Remember what Sir Cedric said," Mira whispered. "Trust each other." Leo tightened his grip on his shield. "Ready?" he asked. "Ready," they all said. And together, they faced the guardian. Their greatest test had begun. The guardian beast stood tall and still. It looked like a huge knight made of vines and stone, its leafy cloak rustling softly. Its eyes, glowing green, watched the four friends closely. It did not attack it, simply waited. Leo raised his shield, ready to defend. "Maybe it's guarding the feather," Mira said quietly. Tarin nodded. "Maybe it's testing us." Ella stepped forward slowly. Her soft voice trembled a little. "We mean no harm," she said. "We just need the silver feather." The guardian's eyes glowed brighter. Suddenly, a deep voice echoed in the air, though the guardian did not move its mouth. "Only those pure of heart and strong of bond may take the feather. Prove your hearts. Prove your friendship." The ground shook a little under their feet. Then, in a blink, the friends were surrounded by mist. They couldn't see the tree or the guardian anymore. They could only hear each other. "Stay close," Leo shouted. But when he reached out, no one was there. Each friend stood alone. Leo looked around. The mist whispered fears into his ears. "You can do it all by yourself," the mist said. "You don't need anyone." Leo shook his head. "No," he said. "We are stronger together." He held his shield close and kept moving forward. Mira walked carefully, the mist showing her puzzles and traps. "You are smarter than them," the mist whispered. "Leave them behind." Mira felt tempted for a moment. But then she remembered Leo's grin, Tarin's laugh, Ella's songs. They believed in her. "No," she said firmly. I need my friends. She pushed through the mist. Tarin stumbled through the thick fog. He heard his own fears whisper, You are only strong. You can't help in other ways. They don't need you. Tarin's heart hurt, but he remembered Mira's clever plans, Leo's bravery, Ella's kindness. They always said his strength gave them hope. They need me, he said, and I need them. He charged forward. Ella walked alone, hearing sad songs from the mist. You are too gentle, it sang. You can't fight. You are weak. Ella wiped a tear from her eye. She thought of her friends, how they smiled when she sang, how they trusted her. My heart is my strength, Ella said softly. She walked forward with courage. Slowly, through the thick mist, the four friends found each other. One by one, they ran together, holding hands tightly. The mist faded. They stood once more before the singing tree and the guardian beast. The guardian bowed low. You have passed the test, the deep voice said. Your hearts are true. Your bond is strong. The huge beast stepped aside. The silver feather floated gently down from the branch, landing at Ella's feet. She picked it up with trembling hands. The feather was light as air and shimmered like moonlight. The friends cheered and hugged each other. We did it together, Leo shouted, laughing. Tarin grinned. I knew we would. Mira smiled brightly. Our friendship is our greatest shield. Ella tucked the silver feather safely into her satchel. The guardian gave a soft rumble, like a purring cat made of trees. Go now, shield bearers of Starfall, the voice said. Your journey is only beginning. The ground opened into a glowing path back through the woods. Flowers bloomed at their feet, and the mist lifted. The friends walked together, shields shining, hearts full. As they left the whispering woods, the sun broke through the clouds, painting the world gold. Starfall Castle waited for them beyond the fields, proud and bright. They had faced fear, temptation, and doubt, but because they believed in each other, they had won. They were not just shield bearers now, they were true heroes, and their adventure was far from over. The gates of Starfall Castle swung open as the four friends returned. Villagers cheered and threw flowers into the air. Children ran up, trying to touch their shiny shields. They walked proudly through the streets, feeling a little taller. At the castle steps, King Alden waited. He wore a robe of deep blue, and his silver crown sparkled in the sunlight. Beside him stood Sir Cedric, smiling proudly. You have returned victorious, King Alden said, his voice deep and warm. You have proven your courage, your hearts, and your friendship. Ella gently took out the silver feather and held it up. The king stepped forward and took the feather with great care. This feather, he said, will be placed in the Hall of Heroes for all to see. The villagers cheered again. Leo, Mira, Tarin, and Ella beamed with pride. Sir Cedric stepped closer. But, he said, there is another task, even greater, even more important. The friends looked at each other, excited. King Alden raised his hand for silence. Beyond the Thunder Mountains, he said, lies a village named Willowmere. They are under a terrible shadow. The crystal of light, which keeps their fields alive, has gone missing. The crowd gasped. Without the crystal, crops would die, rivers would dry, and the village would fall into sadness. I ask you, brave shields of Starfall, said the king, will you journey to Willowmere and find the lost crystal? Leo stepped forward first. We will, your majesty, he said. The others nodded quickly, no fear in their eyes. The king smiled. Good, he said. You will leave at first light. That night, the friends sat around a fire in the castle garden. They ate roasted apples and fresh bread. The stars above were bright and endless. I'm a little nervous, Ella said softly, watching a star twinkle. Me too, Mira said, tracing patterns in the dirt with a stick. It's okay to be nervous, Tarin said, tossing another log onto the fire. It means we care. Leo smiled at his friends. We faced the whispering woods, he said. We can face anything as long as we stay together. They made a promise around the fire. No matter what happens, We stand together." Then they laughed, told stories, and sang songs until the fire burned low. One by one, they drifted off to sleep, their shields leaning against the tree beside them. The next morning, the castle courtyard buzzed with energy. Sir Cedric gave them new cloaks deep green for the forest paths ahead. The castle blacksmith handed them stronger boots and traveling gear. King Eldon himself gave Leo a sword, Mira a special compass, Tarin a mighty hammer, and Ella a flute that could calm wild creatures. "Use these gifts wisely," the king said. They bowed deeply. Then, with full hearts and steady steps, they rode out on strong ponies toward the Thunder Mountains. The road was long and dusty. They crossed sparkling rivers, climbed steep hills, and rode through fields of golden flowers. Along the way, they met travelers who told them stories of Willowmere, stories of fields turning gray, of animals leaving, of sadness in the air. One old woman handed Ella a small flower. "Bring hope back," she said with a tearful smile. "We will," Ella promised. After many days, the mountains rose before them like giant sleeping beasts. Dark clouds gathered over the peaks. Thunder rolled in the distance. Mira checked her compass. "We're close," she said. Tarin tightened his grip on his hammer. Leo pointed to a narrow path winding up into the mountains. "That way," he said. The path looked steep and dangerous. Loose rocks slid under their ponies' hooves. Cold winds howled through the cliffs. But the friends kept going, helping each other across slippery spots, pulling each other up when they stumbled. At the highest point, they found a wooden sign, half buried in rocks. "Willowmere. This way," it said, the letters old and fading. Beyond the sign, the path led down into a dark, shadowy valley. Mira's compass spun wildly. "Something's wrong," she said. Leo looked at the others. "Are we ready?" Ella smiled bravely. "Together," she said. Tarin lifted his hammer. "Always." And together, they stepped into the shadowed valley, ready to bring back the light. The valley was cold and dark. The trees had no leaves. The rivers were dry. Everything looked tired and sad. The friends walked slowly, their boots crunching on dry grass. No birds sang. No animals moved. Only the wind whispered through the empty trees. "It's like the world is holding its breath," Mira said, hugging her cloak tighter. Leo gripped his sword. "We have to find the crystal," he said. "We have to bring hope back." They reached the village of Willowmere. The houses were small and broken. Windows were cracked. Gardens were empty. A few villagers watched from doorways, their eyes full of fear and sadness. An old man with a bent back came out to meet them. "Who are you?" he asked in a voice like dry leaves. "We are shield bearers of Starfall," Leo said. "We have come to help." The old man nodded slowly. "The crystal was stolen by the Shadow Beast," he said. "It lives in the Cave of Echoes beyond the Black Lake." He pointed to a dark path leading deeper into the valley. "But beware," he said. "The beast feeds on fear." The friends looked at each other. They were scared, but they were braver than their fear. "We'll bring the crystal back," Ella promised. The villagers watched as the friends set off toward the Black Lake. The lake was wide and still like a sheet of dark glass. No moon or stars reflected in its waters. At the far side stood a cliff with a black hole, the mouth of the Cave of Echoes. They crossed a rickety bridge, boards creaking under their feet. Inside the cave, it was colder than ice. Their breath turned to mist in the air. Suddenly, whispers filled the cave. "You are too small," the voices said. "You are too weak. You will fail." Mira clutched her compass. Tarin held his hammer high. Ella played her flute, soft and steady, filling the cave with a brave melody. Leo led the way, his shield shining. At the deepest part of the cave, they found the Shadow Beast. It was huge and black, with wings like torn curtains and eyes like burning coal. In its claws, it held the crystal of light, now dull and gray. The beast growled, shaking the walls. "You cannot win," it hissed. Leo stood firm. "We are not alone," he said. Mira stepped beside him. "We have each other." Tarin slammed his hammer into the ground. "And we are not afraid." Ella played her flute louder. the song of hope filling the air. The beast roared and charged, but the friends held strong. Leo blocked its claws with his shield. Tarin struck the ground, making the beast stumble. Mira threw a flash of light from her compass, blinding it. Ella's music wrapped around the crystal like warm sunlight. The crystal began to glow, brighter, brighter, until it shone like a second sun. The shadow beast shrieked and shrank smaller and smaller, until it disappeared into a puff of smoke. The cave walls sparkled with new light. The crystal floated gently into Leo's hands, warm and alive. They had done it. They had won not with swords or strength alone, but with hope, courage, and friendship. The journey back to Willowmere was full of smiles. The villagers came out of their houses, laughing and crying. The fields turned green again. The rivers flowed with sparkling water. Flowers bloomed everywhere. The old man bowed deeply to the friends. "You have saved us," he said. "No," Mira said, smiling. "Hope saved you." Back at Starfall Castle, King Alden placed the Crystal of Light in the Hall of Heroes, beside the silver feather. "You have brought light to dark places," he said proudly. "You are true heroes of Starfall." The shield-bearers stood together, proud and happy. They knew there would be more adventures, more dangers, and more darkness. But they also knew one thing for sure. As long as they had each other, they could bring light to any shadow. And so, their story of bravery, hope, and friendship shined brighter than any star. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel for more.